accompanied by the famous Marco Polo and some of his friends. Let's start with the Muslim merchant. What types of items do you trade?
Some of my most traded items are silk, porcelain, like this, and gunpowder, all of which came from China. The Emperor of Mongolia, Genghis Khan, aided in the prosperity of the Silk Road by providing merchants like me and protection so everybody felt safe. One of the hardest things we had to deal with on the Silk Road were the bubonic plague, which were caused by rats. Over half of the European population was killed because of it.
These are very luxurious items that you trade. I also hope the plague situation gets resolved. Now to the Carabiner owner. How is it like running a Carabiner?
It's pretty fun here, unlike the plague that's been spreading along the route. It's been very safe here since we have high fortified walls and heavily guarded entrances. Essentially, Caravanserai is just a roadside inn for merchants that have been traveling along the Silk Roads. They just stay here for a day or so and then get back on their way. But while they're here, they trade with other merchants, share culture, and feed their animals that they travel with. Back to you, Renee.
Wow, that's very intriguing. Now to the inventor. What have you made that promoted the Silk Road?
Well, paper money is a super helpful thing on Silk Road. We can do things like buy in larger quantities and sums. Another cool invention that has really aided in our traveling processes is stuff like saddles. Saddles have been really helpful because it allows merchants to bring more goods and things from place to place.
Wow, I definitely love the idea of paper money. Now on to the one and only Marco Polo. So who are you, and can you explain on your travels and your book?
I am the Marco Polo. I am an Italian merchant. First of all, let's get that straight. Okay? I am an Italian merchant. And first of all, let's also get this straight. I traveled Middle East, Central Asia, and China. Yeah! Okay. During my 17th year travels, okay, I traveled with thy father and thy uncle. Exactly. Now here's my book on the travels, okay? This book includes the travels of Middle East, Central Asia, and China. Now, during my 17 years, okay, now get this, I was on the Silk Road. Now you may not know nothing about that because you don't know nothing about that. You don't know nothing about that. You don't know nothing about that, okay? I'm gonna tell you something about that. The Silk Road, man, awesome for trading routes. Let's just get that straight, okay? Awesome. And you don't know nothing about that either. So, okay. I also served the Mongol king. Guess who? The great, the wonderful Kublai Khan! You want to know how I served him? Well, you might be asking, how did the Marco Polo walk his little hiney up to the Mongolian king and say, I want to serve you? Well, I'm going to tell you, I became friends. Yeah, I did. I served him well. And let me say this, most of my travels that I did and I wrote about in my book in the year 1299, what you know about that? Nothing. So, that was all because of the Mongolian king. When I tell you he put me to work, he put me to work. He told me to go somewhere, I went the extra mile and went too. Exactly. When I finally was imprisoned in 1299, that's how I got the courage to write this book. And this later caused Europeans and, well, is it the Europe? It's the Europeans. For me, it caused them to want these things, to want these new technology. I also helped detail the most of the technology in Mongol too. So you know, when I see my Mongolian king coming, you know I'm gonna be right by his side. Cause baby, I made some history. End of discussion.
Wow, your journey is one to remember for sure, as well as the book. Finally, we can chat with the weather reporter. How is the weather in the Silk Roads?
Welcome back to Climate with Nesma, where today I'll be discussing the climate along the Silk Roads. Now, what's really interesting about the climate along this route is that it does not only differ from region to region, but during different times of the year as well. While in the middle, more deserty parts of Asia, it'll be very hot during the summer, reaching temperatures of 84 degrees Fahrenheit to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. But also in northern and eastern parts of Asia during the winter, it would also get to freezing and below, 32 degrees Fahrenheit and lower. The best time to travel along this route is from spring to fall, which ranges from April to November, where it isn't freeze to death cold or boil an egg on the sand hot. Back to you, Renee.
That's some interesting weather information. Well, that's it for now. Until next time.